So basically what we're doing here is simulating a crossbore. In short term, it's essentially showing people what not to do. Understanding the practice of what we're doing with directional drilling, the process, and just the sheer safety factor of going into a situation like this, knowing the engineering that's done ahead of time, daylighting, all the processes that we're showing at this type of show is basically the best practices or a white paper of how you should conduct something. To this point, we're getting a very bad name in the market because guys are bidding jobs at such a cheap rate where they're skipping things that they should be doing. Daylighting, potholing utilities, getting them visible when you cross them. There's obvious mitigation that you pass that without a true crossbore.
So Subside Electronics, we're based out of Perry, Oklahoma. We manufacture line locating equipment, HGD tracking equipment, and utility inspection equipment. We're a sister company of Ditch Witch and distribute our products through the Ditch Witch dealership distribution network.
In the past, you basically located over where you were. And this, you can go 10, 15, 20, 30 feet out, and the guy at the drill is basically going to where you are. For us at Ditch Witch and having Subside as a sister company, being able to make that technology specifically and exactly what we need for a piece of equipment like a directional drill, and providing that type of accuracy is a huge part of actually making this happen. And now the guy on the drill has more power for say, we know where we're going to be, when to make the steering corrections, and it's real time, you're right there. Instead of, getting out 4 or 5 rods and realizing we probably should have corrected 2 or 3% back there.
Now we've got our camera inside this clean out for the sewer line, and on our camera monitor here, we'll be able to monitor and watch the bore head go right through the sewer lateral.
Basically going through this, being able to locate out, explain what's going on, the best practices of what you're seeing downhole, utilizing the camera technology to allow us to, in most cases, we're utilizing that technology to actually pass the actual whatever utility or whatever we're passing downhole. And in this case, we're actually simulating, showing what it looks like if you do have a crossbore. Say this was a residential area, very similar to what it is. The footprint that you leave behind not open cutting this is way less invasive. And honestly, that tends to be the method a lot of people want to use nowadays, unless you have an application like along the side of the road where you can open cut.
Right.
But in something like this, and that's where this crossbore and stuff is such a huge thing for the industry right now, is the sheer fact of guys skipping steps. And that's the whole purpose of like a training like this, is to get people the education to know how to prevent stuff like this. Any type of mitigation you can do on this, because the one time you hit something, that's when you wind up on the news.
We just got done boring in an electric conduit with our JT25, and we're here to show how vacuum excavation is the safe, easy, and least footprint opportunities to expose utilities. As we're coming through, we want to make sure that we expose every utility that we're crossing. We want to make sure that we're exposing down to the depth that the drill will be going, so we can visually see that the drill is where we know it is and we've cleared all utilities. Once we've done that, we can continue boring. Here we've had 3 opportunities to expose the communication lines that we're going through as we were boring in the electrical conduit. So behind me here is our HX75. We're using high pressure water with a vacuum to expose this. We're digging with the water. We're utilizing the vacuum to pull the spoils out of the hole. In order to be safe, vacuum excavation is the method of choice. Most strikes on utilities occur when they're exposing utility with a shovel. A rock feels just like conduit, so you want to step on that shovel and dig through. Most of the time that happens, it's a utility. So we want to make sure we're utilizing the high pressure water that does not damage utilities to safely expose the lines and make sure that there's no damage to those lines or the product that you're putting in.
There's new operators all over the world, and utilizing the technology at hand and doing things right, having this type of setup, we do a lot of this stuff in-house at the factory as far as training with Subside and bringing people in and doing stuff like that. But real world stuff, guys getting to see it like this makes so much more sense to people. You already see certain cities that are looking at directional drilling as an issue because guys aren't doing it properly. They're not following the proper methods, the best practices, things like that. And that's one thing that we work together with everybody in the industry, is to make sure we provide those best practices.